Okay, so the first one, I have 4 more books to talk about, and those are actually some that I'm so excited about. Hello everyone, welcome back to a new reading wrap up. Last time I did it in this daily vlog style video and you guys really seem to enjoy it, so today I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to be just showing you around my day and doing my March wrap up at the same time. I had quite a good reading month. I'm really happy with the books that I read as well as the quality of the books, so you'll definitely hear more about that later on in the video. But now I'm just going to be doing some work because it is Thursday and yesterday I didn't do anything because I played Stardew Valley the entire day and I did not plan on that happening, but it did. I got the Stardew Valley and I'm a little bit obsessed, so I need to catch up on some work. I'm also going to be doing like a study work session with Lexi in like afternoon, so you know, we're keeping each other accountable to actually do some work and study. And I'm also really excited to talk about all the books that I read in March. Okay, shall we just talk about the first book that I read in March? That was Hope Fire by Camilla Shamshi. I read this one for my 24-hour basically readathon, and that's a readathon that I sometimes host in which we read books that have been on our shelves for a very long time, and this one had been on my shelf for a very long time and I finally read it. Yes, so this is all about 3 siblings and they've had nothing but each other, but then one day the brother leaves home to kind of fulfill this dark legacy of his father, who was a jihadist. So this book is very much focused on like sibling relationships, and it was definitely a very tough read. At first I really thought I was going to love this book. I felt like I was getting really sucked into the book, but that was actually only in the beginning of this book. I felt like the characters were kind of flat and I didn't really know them very well. They felt very much like on the surface. It didn't feel like I was getting to know them. And then unfortunately there were some parts that were really slow that I was struggling to get through. But then after those parts there were definitely chapters where a lot was happening, and some of them were very tough to read, as you can probably imagine, because the book is dealing with these topics. But because the book had quite a lot of very slow parts and it felt like the characters just didn't really feel well-rounded, I decided to give this book 3 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely happy I finally read it because it had been on my shelf for a very long time. But I would still recommend it because I have heard so many amazing reviews about this, so there are definitely people who really love this book. But unfortunately it wasn't really the book for me. Okay, my computer is doing like a backup, like a time machine thing. I always do that once a week. Don't forget to back up your computer. And I just did a little Instagram video for my new video that's coming out today, and I did something else. Oh yes, I did a little promo thingy for an event, like an online event that I'll be attending this weekend. So now I think it's time to talk about the next 2 books that I read in March. Artemis by Andy Weir. This is by the same author who wrote The Martian, and I absolutely loved The Martian. So I was really excited to read this book, but it was very disappointing. Good thing is, Andy Weir is actually coming out with another book later on, I think next month maybe? And people are raving about that one and say it might even be better than The Martian, so I'm definitely excited for that one. But this one did get a lot of negative reviews and I agree with a lot of them. So this is basically, it also takes place in space. It takes place on the moon, where there is this sort of city on the moon, and we follow our main character called Jasmine. And Jasmine kind of has to go on this heist on the moon. She is a very tough girl. She is a criminal. She does like heists and steals things and doesn't do everything very fairly. But the thing is, the story itself, the plot is really fun and really action-packed, and I did quite like the characters, except the main character. Our main character Jasmine felt so just fake, like she was written by a bunch of guys who see this very stereotypical sexy girl who likes to drink whiskey and beer, who likes to have lots of sex, who is a very tough girl. And that is basically what our main character was. It just didn't feel well-rounded at all. I was really struggling with the main character and I was just rolling my eyes a lot of the time. So that's the only thing that was really just bothering me a lot, because the story itself was actually really fun. I love reading about all these scientific things, and even though it's like science fiction, there's still a lot of truth in everything with the science aspect of this book, and I really tried to understand everything. So I really enjoyed that, but just the character itself yeah, that's why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I was really like disappointed that I didn't enjoy it that much, but I'm really excited for the next one. I love just science fiction and I hope that it's going to be really good. And then the next book I actually read this one for a book for my Patreon, because I had this Patreon TBR jar where all of my patrons, they could vote for a book that I should put in that TBR jar, and every 2 months I pick a book and I read it. And if you don't know, I do have a Patreon on which I post extra content and extra videos and early access to videos and live shows and a Discord and a book club, so a lot of fun things. I will leave a link down below in the description. But for my Patreon, I read The Tattooist of Auschwitz. I won't tell you too much about this book because I did do like a reading vlog for my Patreon, but as you can tell, it is about the tattooist of Auschwitz, and this is based on real events and based on real stories about this man who was a tattooist and who met this woman there, and they fell madly in love, and he was doing everything in his power to keep them both safe. This was phenomenal. 5 out of 5 stars. I think it is so important that we read about these stories about the Holocaust and how we will never forget what happened there, even though it is definitely just a very tough read and very sad, very emotional, but I think so important as well, because we should never forget what happened during the Holocaust. And I actually went to Auschwitz-Birkenau a couple of years ago, and it was one of the most like impressive days of my life. I still remember everything vividly, and it's really like a strange thing to say because I went on this road trip through like Eastern Europe, and my family and I, we were just talking like, oh, what was your favorite part of the trip? And this definitely wasn't my favorite part of the trip, but it was definitely the one that left the biggest impression on me, and I am really happy that I got to go there and that I still can't comprehend what happened there. If you ever do get the chance to visit a concentration camp or Auschwitz-Birkenau, I highly recommend you do so, because as I said, I just think it's so important that we read and that we learn about what happened there. And this is very, like, even though it's still fiction, it's based on these real stories, so there's definitely a lot of truth in this book, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. There's also a sequel about Silka, and Silka is a character in this book as well. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard that it's amazing as well, so I am most definitely going to read that book as well. I have 4 more books to talk about, and those are actually some that I'm so excited about, so you will hear about those later on in the video. I'm just going to make myself a cup of tea and do some more work. Okay, so I should actually be editing a video, but then I suddenly wanted to create this little basket thingy for my shop. So I have a little thank you cards and then some freebie stickers as well. I made like this cool construction. It looks crap from above, but like this, it looks really cool. It has like 3 separate compartments. So for my little, these little freebie stickers and these freebie stickers. And now I can put it right here. Like this. Oh, yay, look. I'm trying to make a video with my phone, but like vertically, but I don't have a proper tripod to put my phone vertically. So this is my makeshift tripod. I put it on my normal little tripod. What is this? But oh well, it works because now I have this, what I wanted to show on the camera. I just had some lunch, basically sugar on toast. Sugar, sprinkles and chocolate sprinkles on toast. It was good. But I thought I would talk to you about the next 2 books that I read and just... Okay, so the first one is my reread of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've talked about this book so much on my channel and I'm pretty sure you all know what this book is about. This is written by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this is all about Evelyn Hugo, who was, or like who still is, this very famous actress from the 50s, I believe. Yes, from the 50s. As the title suggests, she had 7 husbands, and in this book we basically follow this journalist who's going to interview Evelyn Hugo all about her 7 husbands and, you know, what happened with all of those men, why she married so many men. And this was just amazing. I loved my reread. This is the second time I read it. I once read it a couple of years ago when it was just released, and now I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook was so good as well. And the reason I read this is because there is a character in this book, one of her husbands, who is the father of the main characters in this book. This is Malibu Rising. This is an arc that I received from Penguin. Thank you so much. This is my first ever like arc that I received, and this is like my most anticipated release of the year. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is about, like, it takes place in the 80s. Again, historical fiction, loving this so much from Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this is all about Nina Riva. And Nina Riva is the daughter of Mick Riva. And Mick Riva is one of the husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Hence why I wanted to reread that first. And Nina Riva always gives this very big party at the end of summer to kind of, you know, end summer on a very high note with an amazing party. And she has a lot of siblings as well. If you know about the party, you're invited to the party. It was so good. Evelyn Hugo is honestly so amazing at writing characters. From the first chapter, you already felt like you knew the characters. She is just so good at describing how characters are, what they think, their personalities. I'm just obsessed with her writing. And the characters in this book, Nina is one of my new favorite characters. She's so amazing. And it was just so good. So I can't believe I already read this. And by the way, this will be released on May 27th, so only like just over a month to go. But of course, it's not just about, oh, we're having a fun party. Of course, a lot of things are happening at the party and before that as well. It was so good. It was so good. I love the family dynamic in this book, about all of the siblings and the father, and just, and then, like, I'm so happy that these books take place in the same universe. But then I thought Daisy Jones and the Six must take place in the same universe as well, because there's actually talk, I believe, of characters from Daisy Jones and the Six in Malibu Rising, and I'm actually rereading Daisy Jones and the Six right now, and Mick Riva is mentioned in there as well. So it's official that all of these 3 books with Daisy Jones and the Six all take place in the same universe, and this is now one of my favorite fictional universes. It is kind of like based on real life, because there's also talk of actual celebrities. They're talking about Goldie Hawn, which is really funny, but most of these people in this book are just fictional. But I'm just obsessed with this fictional world in the 70s and 80s, and I really hope that Taylor Jenkins Reid is going to write more about this world with these characters. And just, it's my favorite era, like the 70s. This takes place in the 80s, by the way, Malibu Rising, because it is about like the daughter of Mick Riva, and of course Mick Riva is a little bit older, so this takes place in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, I believe, and this one takes place in the 80s. But then Daisy Jones and the Six takes place in the 70s, and I'm just like, yes. I'm so happy I read this book. This one, I gave this one 4.75 out of 5 stars. So basically my ratings are 4.75 out of 5 stars, 4.85 out of 5 stars, and then Daisy Jones is a 5 star. So it's all just so amazing. I'm just going to continue editing, and then I'm going for a walk, because I need to go on a walk, because my body is getting very just tense, and I need to move a little bit because I'm not sitting comfortably anymore. Lexi. Working with Lexi. Ooh. I just did a little productivity FaceTime session with Lexi. It was so much fun, and we worked for like an hour, which was great because I had this video to edit and just a lot of stuff to do. So I will finish with the last 2 books I read in March. Let's start off with the most exciting one of these 2, which is The Queen's Gambit by Walter Tevis. This is, of course, the book about The Queen's Gambit, the TV show on Netflix that is one of my favorite TV shows now. It is about Beth Harmon, who is a chess, who is a chess prodigy. She starts learning chess at the age of 9. She's an orphan at an orphanage, and she starts learning chess from the janitor there, and she becomes she's a wonderkind. She is a chess genius, and it's all about her life as a chess genius, but also about her life dealing with drugs and alcohol addiction. This book is so freaking good. The TV show as well, I absolutely love both of them. 5 out of 5 stars. I still think it's really interesting to read the book as well, even though it's quite similar, like nearly identical actually, to the TV show, or like the other way around. The TV show is nearly identical to the book, but there were definitely some extra things in here that I really enjoyed reading about, and I just thought that it's brilliant. It's definitely one of my favorite TV shows and one of my favorite books now. I just love this story, and I love Beth Harmon. And then the last book I read in March was The Long Walk by Stephen King. I feel like I've talked about all of these books so often already, so I hope you enjoyed just the vlog itself. This is a horror, and this is the first Stephen King book I actually ever read. I heard that he wrote this as a teenager, which is actually quite impressive. So this is about The Long Walk, which is this walk where 100 guys participate in the US, and they have to walk at a steady pace of 4 miles per hour for days, and you either reach the end and you win the prize, or you die. And at first I thought, is this going to be boring? But then it wasn't really boring, because it was really interesting seeing, after hours and hours and days of walking, how these characters, you know, became mentally and physically exhausted, and how they were thinking, how they were feeling. So that was really something I enjoyed about this book, but this still just wasn't really my cup of tea, and I enjoyed it, but it definitely wasn't amazing in my opinion. So I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars, but I'm happy I finally read a Stephen King book, because I just never read a Stephen King book before. So these are all of the books that I read in March. I'm so happy with the books that I read, especially Meadow Rising. That one was definitely my favorite, as you can probably tell. I really hope you liked this video. If you don't know what to comment, but you want to comment something and just show me you're there, comment a little apple emoji, so I know you watched the vlog. And I really need to eat this apple, because it's been here for a long time now, and it will get old if I don't eat it soon. But if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you never miss a future video. And of course, you can also follow me on all of my social media. I always leave everything down below in the description. Again, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you're having a beautiful day, and I will see you in my next video.